When we last left our heroes, they had just defeated Xanathar inside of his base. And in order to do it, they had to call forth kind of a big bad, this storm giant, in order to defeat him. Now, the two kind of went head and head, kind of like Godzilla and King Kong, and the storm giant ended up victorious. But he was now after the rest of the party members, especially the person who called him, which was the druid. But if you remember, they were all in different people's bodies at this point. So it was actually the ranger inside the druid's body that was calling forth the storm giant. And in order to mediate this, she actually went up to the storm giant and tried to make a truce. Now the storm giant reached down, grabbed her hand, opened up a portal, and just zipped through there, taking her with him. And at this point, all the other party members are all like, how are we going to get out of this, and how are we going to get our bodies back? So we now rejoin our heroes, and they are trying to get out. They're trying to evacuate outside of Xanathar's keep, and they go through the sewers in order to do that. But the sewers have some pretty nasty stuff, so there's a couple encounters, a couple skill challenges, but they make it through to the end. And they go to the only safe house they know, which is Raffles' place, over near the dock ward. When they get there, they tell Raffles what happened, and he starts pondering like what they can do in order to get back to their teammates, because if they don't get to their teammate, they're going to be stuck in these new bodies. They won't ever be able to return. At the same time, the guy who is the rogue, he has lost one of his arms, so he's only playing with one arm at this point because he got petrified. So in order to help him with that, they get him kind of like a prosthetic arm that he can wear as they're going through, and he commissions some of the gnomes that they found earlier with the airship in order to make him a silver arm, if he can, very like Winter Soldier style. Now, they learn through Raffles that there's actually an academy in Waterdeep that teaches new aspiring wizards, and it's called Vara Kadavra Academy. And for this, I actually used another Rolled and Told edition called the School of Hard Knocks in order to illustrate what this academy looks like and what it does for a lot of the aspiring wizards inside of the town. Now, they heard that there's actually a portal at one of the towers inside of this academy that can lead them to where their taken compatriot is. So they decide to go in and see if they can find out where this portal is and if they can gain access to it. When they get inside the academy, they meet with a new player character. This is Gizzard the Lizard Wizard, who is now played by the person who was playing the Ranger, who had gotten taken away. So she has a new character now. And this Lizard Folk Wizard is a new aspiring student at this academy, and she wants to try and make a name for herself. So she doesn't really play by the rules. She wants to try and like cut a couple corners, see if she can start doing some pretty hardcore magic, even when she's not really at that level yet. So she hears that the party members want to get to this portal, and she's thinking, I might be able to help you if you help me. So she takes them over to the headmistress, and the headmistress starts talking to them, and she finds out that, they want to gain access to the portal. They're not allowed to, because it's only available for faculty and students who pass like the exit exams for this academy. The only way to get there is to go through a trial, kind of like a labyrinth with different puzzles and trials in order to get to the portal. And when they get there, it's supposed to be sort of a graduation ceremony for them to be able to show that they've mastered all the different schools of magic. So when they're there, they learn all this info, and they also start asking a little bit about if, what's going on at this academy, if maybe they can learn a history and also learn a little bit about the place that they're trying to get to. They find out that the academy was, brought up by this one wizard, a pretty well-renowned wizard called Archimedes Whitestock. And all the players are all like, we know this individual. We have some books written from him. And the rogue is all like, I want to make my familiar into or I want to make my pet, Raffles, into a familiar. And I've heard that he developed a spell in order to do that, a ritual. So all of them start to realize that, this academy is pretty prestigious, that it follows this particular wizard. And this wizard, Archimedes, he writes like all the textbooks and like, so you want to do magic for dummies kind of stuff. And so So they learned that he disappeared about 50 years ago. He was going through and kind of going to different worlds, and he kind of disappeared. And so now the academy is kind of set up in his honor, but he's not around anymore. So they start talking to the headmistress, and she says they're not allowed to gain access to the portal, and if they do want help, the faculty is on a sabbatical right now. They're going to be back in 2 weeks. They can help them then. And the party members are all like, we can't wait 2 weeks for this. We need to find our party member now. We need to get there. So they decide that the only way for them to do this is to do it on their own. They're going to try and break into the academy at night and try and gain access to this portal so that they can find their compatriot. Gizzard is there as well, and Gizzard's all like, I'll help you if you help me. You want to get through the trials, or you want to get to the portal? Well, I want to get through the trials. If I get to the trials and get to the end, I'll prove that I'm a good wizard. So they all decide to team up in order to make it towards this tower. So in the middle of the night, they break in, and the caper starts, where they try and get through like security. They get past a couple students that are still left over and faculty members, and they finally get to the tower. And when they get inside, it's broken into numerous amounts of puzzles, each one dedicated towards a different field of magic. So each puzzle is supposed to be like, you have necromancy and transmutation, and everyone is supposed to correspond with a mastery over that particular type of magic. So they're able to complete all of these particular puzzles, and once they get towards the last one, the portal unlocks and it opens. And they realize that this is a portal to many different realms. It's not where they need to go. But then, the Morning Star of the Warlock, you remember Soth, he's stuck inside of this Morning Star. He tells the Warlock that in order to decide where the portal is going to go, they need something from that land, something from where they're trying to go in order to direct the portal. So he uses his Morning Star to direct it, and suddenly the portal opens up and they can see inside, and it's this world that they need to go to. It looks like the same world that they had seen when they were fighting the snake woman, Explicita Defilis, inside of the dungeon. And so now everything's kind of coming full circle, that it seems as if they were meant to go to this place. So they all give Gizzard a farewell, and they jump inside of the portal. But it turns out that the portal wasn't calculated accordingly, and so they ended up being thousands of feet in the air into a free fall. And they're falling past the clouds, and they're falling down towards this land, and they can see down there's a giant lake that they're going to collide into, but at that speed they might die. So they start using some of their magic teleportation and some of their abilities to harden their skin, and they slam into the lake, and they're able to push themselves to the surface. And as they do, they also see that up in the air there's something weird happening. There's a giant teddy bear that's also falling down from the clouds as well. And they're looking over that, and they're just like, whoa, okay. So they're swimming in this lake, they're trying to make it to the surface, and they get to the surface, and they can see that there is a band of travelers that's camped out near the banks of this lake. And this is the middle of the night, and they all have their fires burning. So all the party members, they collect themselves, and they start thinking to themselves, maybe we can steal some horses, or maybe we can, try and get out of here. But other ones are thinking, we need to get our bearings. We don't know anything about this world. So they go over and they start talking to these people, and all of these travelers, they're all just kind of vagabonds that are traveling around in groups and caravans. They invite them over, and they invite them to their fire, and they give them like warm blankets and, cups of soup, and they sit them down and they introduce themselves. They're called the Vistani, and they start telling a story. And so all the party members are sitting around, they're listening to the story. One of the Vistani members, he takes a swig of alcohol and he spits it into the fire, and the fire turns green. And they start telling the story about this warrior, this military man who used to come to their land, and he was injured at one point, and all the Vistani members, they helped him, but he was being hunted by this rival, this other band of soldiers, and that the Vistani, no matter what, they wouldn't give him up. And this soldier, he decided he needed the power in order to defeat his enemies, so he climbed up to the top of this mountain, this place called the Amber Temple, and he went inside and he got the power he needed, this dark, horrible power that gave him the strength to defeat his enemies. And in doing that, he became the conqueror of this land. He took it over. And all the Vistani were in his debt, and he and theirs, for helping them and them helping him. And so he made a deal with them that they could leave and go whenever they want. But in doing so, taking that power, he also surrounded this world in mist. A mist so deep and so dangerous that nobody besides the Vistani could ever leave. The party members are listening to this, and it almost sounds like they've made it into a prison, and they start asking, they're like, what is this world? Where are we? And the Vistani tell them, you're in the realm of Barovia. You've now made it into this world, and unfortunately you can't leave without talking to the person who rules this world. And as they're saying that, this carriage that has a lot of decor kind of opens up its door, and out steps this old woman, and she beckons them forth, and they go up to this elder, and she introduces herself. She says her name is Madame Ava, and she invites them into her carriage. They go inside, and she tells them that she has this ability to see into the future. She's a seer, and she has seen that they were predestined to come here. And they start saying that, no, we were just trying to follow our friend. And she tells them that she's been able to see that their journey is going to involve a lot more than they think, that they were destined to come here and to free this land. And she asked them if they'd like for her to read their fortunes. And they're like, oh, okay. So she takes out some cards, this Taraka deck. She starts drawing these cards and telling them a little bit about what their futures entail and what's going to happen next in their journey. And it seems like there's a buildup that all of these people that want to leave this land, all of the individuals that are stuck inside of this misty prison, that there's one person, a warden of this land, that controls everything, that doesn't allow people to leave. And if these heroes can band together, and if they can rise to the occasion, then they can save not only the person they came here for, their compatriot, but they can also save everyone here. And as they're talking, there's a hush and whispers that happen from outside, and they open up the carriage and they look outside, and there's a really dark and deep mist that starts flowing over the lake, and it starts to approach the bank. And as it does, a pair of feet start to emerge out, and they see an individual walking out of the mist. He's covered in very fine garb and furs on his shoulder, and he's wearing fine breastplate, and he walks out with pale skin and dark black eyes, and he introduces himself. His name is Strahd von Zarovich, and he welcomes them to his land. And he has them sit down, and he tells them that it's been a long time since they've had visitors, but he is grateful that they've come here. But it seems as if they are not quite right. He tells them that he can fix that. And with the snap of his finger, they all return into their own bodies. And as they do, they start realizing that, the party member who got separated from them, they don't know where he is. Now that's the druid. And they start hearing in the earpiece that they had put in earlier that the party member is out there, that he's wandering around in the wilderness, and they don't know where to find him. And so Strahd says, I can fix that too. And he opens up a portal, and as he opens it up, the druid falls through and joins the rest of the crew. Now all of them are together at this point. And he tells them that now that they're together, he asks them, where would they like to go? Where would they want to be if they could be anywhere? And everyone's kind of hesitantly looking around, and Strahd hands them a piece of paper and asks them to write down where they would want to be in this moment. And they take the piece of paper and they start writing, and many of them write that they want to be with their families or their friends. They want to be home. They want to be back in Waterdeep. And as they hand back the papers and he collects them all and he looks at them, he just tears them up and throws them in the fire and says, I am glad that you have agreed to stay here, that this is where you want to be. For it is my wish that you stay here as well. For you are my playthings, and you will never leave Barovia. And as he walks away, turns around, the warlock decides to take a risk. He calls out to his morning star. because he knows that this entity inside his Morningstar, his patron, has called him forth to this land and he wants to learn more about it. So he calls out, and as he does, the voice inside of his Morningstar, Soth, starts calling out to him and telling him he needs to kill this person quickly. He's fought this person before, and like this person is pure evil and he needs to defeat this individual. And as he does, Strahd kind of cricks his neck and he looks back and he can hear this voice, this Morningstar that no one else can. And he says, "That voice is no longer allowed in my land. Allow me to silence it." And he casts forth his palm. He uses a spell, and he silences the Morningstar, and it doesn't speak anymore. And that's how the party ended up in Barovia. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. We're going to try and keep up these videos a little bit more than we have lately, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up to where the party members are now, because they've had a lot of sessions inside of Barovia, and I'm excited to tell you this story. But until we get there, everyone be safe out there. Bye now.